Hey guys, it's KGOKev, and Chapter 3 is coming, Chapter 3 is coming, Chapter 3 is coming, Chapter 3 is coming, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Chapter 3 of Your Turn to Die is dropping real soon, and clearly the hype is on. Everyone wants to know what's up, and I've been speculating and theory crafting the crap out of what's to come. So here, I'm gonna be sharing some of the theories I've got going on from me and my friends for the upcoming chapter. This vid is a bit last minute. I didn't think we'd have to worry about more Kimi ga Shine for a few more months, but it's coming. So in advance, I apologize if the editing's a bit more lax than usual. Penis is flying everywhere! With all that said, here are some of my thoughts, opinions, and theories for what we can expect to see in Chapter 3 of Your Turn to Die. Sara Chidouin is most likely a Mafia princess. I'm like 99.9999999% sure she or her family has ties to the Yakuza in some way. The Chidouin family is involved with the death game to the point where Sara's father is associated. Joe drops a nickname for Sara as the godfather of Sano Beno High, and her father pimps himself out with an outfit akin to a mob boss near the end of the game. Mr. Chidouin has dialogue when talking to Kai about how his daughter didn't even realize the potential she carried. The death game and events in all can be interpreted as a rite of passage / test for Sara to become the next head of the clan. Also, she's the ultimate swordswoman. Also, the fact they were able to hire Kai, aka an assassin, as a bodyguard for Sara must mean they have crazy funds available. It's the Mafia. It's the Yakuza, dog. Sara's 24-hour Cinderella. After doing the first trial, Sara and Joe are falling. They fall down to the bottom floor with the other surviving candidates. The rest of the game, we're constantly climbing multiple stairs to reach an exit, which we assume is near the top. Perhaps the events of the death game all take place underneath Sara's house. Or what appears to be, because there's a lot of weird things about the game's prologue that we're gonna get into. It would allow for Kai and Mr. Chidouin to not have to move very far from work while keeping close watch on Sara, and I also predict any exit found inside the game to lead out to the house, ending the game right back at the beginning, or what appears to be Sara's supposed household. I feel Sara's mom may have more of a role in the story than it seems. Sara's mom for sure might have something going on. To me, it's weird that non-candidates like Now with Mishima or Kugi with Kana got snatched up by being with the candidate they're with. You know, wrong place at the wrong time. But Sara's mom was ignored, and instead Sara got kidnapped alongside Joe. Why take Joe and not the mom? Or why not take all three? Either she got left and is still having a nice nap, or she might actually be in on it as well. Notably, when we see her, they made it a point to obscure her face, maybe because it would be someone that we'd recognize. Sara also didn't fully check her to confirm her identity at the time, only getting a glimpse at her mother's fat ass. Could have been a double, could have actually been her, but I do feel we may encounter her once more, if not already having done so. Kyutaro is very divisive in the fandom. Some folks justify his actions as being realistic, others really want to see him fucking dead in Chapter 3. Which I feel he'll have one of two fates, depending on the path you're on. Either he'll double down as the selfish, me-token-obsessed Ijimajit we all know and many don't love, or he'll fulfill his role as the token big character of the group. It'll be his turn to die, he'll be selfless or be a sacrifice, and achieve what I want to call his Red Dead Redemption. It seems like they're setting up for two different paths for endings so far. Emotions versus logic, from either killing Shin or killing Kana. The killing So route is definitely heavily preferred at the moment with how happy it is compared to Who is Joe. Since it's so lopsided, I'm thinking this is gonna for sure end up balancing out, or the two are gonna end up swapping tone-wise, with things seeming hopeful at first with killing So, reuniting with Joe, but ends up going real downhill. And killing Kana seeming bad at first, but may lead to some more genuine revelations. Both will most likely end bittersweet either way. 'Cause death game. Since Gin and Keiji are the two closest to Sara, you know, they're her boys and all that, Kyutaro's just there to look pretty, there's probably gonna be a pivotal moment in which you have to choose between Keiji or Gin, siding with them, trusting them, or choosing who to die. If choosing who to commit unalive with, I can see them pulling a sneaky move in which whatever choice you make ends up doing the opposite. So if you choose Keiji to live, Gin survives instead, and Keiji is killed, and also vice versa. Dick move, bro! Kyutaro once again is there to look pretty. Judging from Chapter 2-2 with the Yabusames, we can assume that whichever characters we've chosen to save will continue to have presence, but not really affect the overall course of the plot for the most part, or have their actions be interchangeable. Hopefully having saved them will give them protection and make them safe to survive the rest of the game. But I do hope Nankidai doesn't pull a Telltale Games, and has the characters saved end up dying later anyway, to make writing easier, as it ultimately makes your choices pointless. It was Telltale Games' turn to die. Most people are expecting the real Sohiyori to be a real bad dude, which he does come across as shady, but watch them pull a bait and switch, and he ends up being a pretty cool guy, albeit creepy as fuck. And the main villain is somebody else. So, Runtaro Mami.
Hey, boo-boo.
Gashu's mustache is fake! Looking at the new trailer for Chapter 3, I see dead people. Most likely it's going to be having Runtaro Amami here as the main focal point, while also giving the deceased characters a chance to Kimi ga shine. This could either be a simulation with AIs or a glimpse into stuff that happened before the events of the main game, maybe even ending with So's alleged murder by Alice or identity theft by Shin. May or may not be the other death game hinted at in Chapter 2. Other than the prominence of Hamtaro Brussels Sprout Man, the most striking thing is how Kugi and Megumi are absent from the deceased character lineup. What I'm thinking is, since the rest of the dead here all died alone in the first trials, as seen from the victim videos, but Kugi and Megumi were with Kana and Keiji respectively, perhaps the two are excluded because of their relations to the candidates, or because having them present along with the rest would reveal something problematic. If you choose to keep Shin alive, the game seems to be setting him up to be a real stupid stinky poop face who will cause tons of discord for Sarah in Chapter 3. I feel like they're gonna subvert this. He's gonna cause issues for sure, but in the end he'll possibly save Sarah or be a key component in defeating the death game, which may have even given him 0.0% cause of this fact. Keeping Shin alive, despite his 0% chance of survival, may prove fruitful cause of this, going against not only fate, but also in a way logic, which is what he and half of the story has been about. Subverting expectations for the hell of it is stupid as hell. But when set up well, and with proper satisfying payoff, it can be more effective than just being well written yet predictable. Also, of course, if he's a major player, having a showdown between the real So and the fake So is something we would all want to see, of course. The fake So having been your nemesis up to now, but evidently the lesser of two evils and in the end proving to be your ally, would be really cool. Considering what Gashu said about questioning the character's own origins, assumingly mainly about their own birth / being from the same orphanage, what if this skepticism also applies to the relationships supposedly seen throughout the game? Reiko and Alice might not actually be siblings, Kugi and Kana might be fake sisters, maybe Mishima and Nao and Keiji and Megumi, and of course this would apply to Sarah and her best friend, Joe, for reasons we will go into. Everything we know is a goddamn lie! I feel like Miley and Cephalin may have hidden identities, or may be characters that we know or have been mentioned. What's striking for me is that every other organization member, Gashu with Kai and Ranger, and Sarah with her dad, have some form of prior relationship before the start of the death game. But then here, we just have two random evil women. Miley and Cephalin could be Sarah's mom and Ryoko, assuming Ryoko even exists, since they've also made it a point to obscure the faces of both of them. Otherwise, they're just really bad DeviantArt food sonas. Mine's chocolate. So, the majority of, if not the entirety of the candidates are orphans, and may or may not have been raised in the same orphanage. Could it be possible that the candidates were bred / raised for the purposes of the death game, akin to Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, where they raised humans from birth with the intent of creating a perfect killing machine, with the goal of having one of the candidates excel, or to be stepping stones to help a specific person, aka probably Sarah, achieve their potential. The candidates then would live their lives until it was time for the death game, but since we don't see them in the outside world and characters' memories can be considered unreliable, they might just be products of the kidnappers and been given made-up identities, false memories, etc., just for the purposes of this game. Wait, what game are we talking about? It is possible there could be dolls residing amongst the cast. Maybe an individual who's pretending to be Sarah's ally throughout the course of the game, but ultimately be on the side of the kidnappers. Since dolls and AIs need to be updated manually after time has passed, I'm wondering if it's possible we have a doll who is an outdated version of one of the characters that's assuming a new identity. Or perhaps the doll is among the main cast, and their older self is one of the people pulling the strings, like an older Sarah or an older Gin perhaps. The question of whether you should trust this doll could have been foreshadowed and tested with fake Reiko's whole existence, and maybe even called back to if this ends up being the case for potentially trusting them. They have established that dolls cannot bleed, but just like with any established rules, they could have made sure to have this explanation to shut our brains off from considering details any further for there to be a possible exception. We've seen most of the cast bleed, but there are ways to fake it. Fill up a doll's insides, fill them up with fake blood, real blood, Kyutaro's blood. Gin everyone loves and wishes to protect. Hashtag Gin Protection Squad. But he is unfortunately very suspicious, possibly even more so than Keiji or Kyutaro right now. He's the only candidate with a stated biological parent, his mother, making him stand out from the cast. There was that entire deal with him going down to the first floor for whatever reason, somehow knowing of the secret path's existence, being able to stay undetected from Miley, and just showing up again afterwards with no questions or explanations given. Are there two Geens maybe? Who knows? Not to mention, he somehow survived the first trial despite being the youngest. Kana is older, and she barely made it out unscathed, with her sister as well, so how Geen did it assumingly on his own is very, very questionable. Also, they haven't shown his face in-game, which is one thing, but another thing is that they made a huge scene over So and him possibly lacking a collar, which was revealed he did underneath his scarf. Geen, we haven't confirmed or denied the existence of one for him. If he does, it's always obscured by Muchon in his clothing. They may do a callback to the aforementioned scene with So, with Geen instead, but this time, there not being a collar present at all. Geen may be a doll too, which again, call back to fake Reiko. They might have you choose between Keiji, a human who's as suspect as his arms are huge, or Geen, a doll in the form of a kid, but who's only ever been on your side. Alternatively, they've set up for Keiji to be the really suspicious one, but I can see them wanting you to think that, leading you into a false sense of security by trusting and protecting Geen Protection Squad, and having that backfire and end up biting you in the fat ass. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Ass! Once again, Gashu's mustache is fucking fake, and seeing him without it is the most terrifying thing I've ever fucking seen. It seems weird to me that the monitor room had the perfect amount of monitors for the number of candidates we interact with in-game. There's 9 of them for the 9 candidates. What if any of the victims from the victim videos also survived? Like, what if Ranmaru or Anzu or any of them survived? Would they leave them out? Maybe they had more monitors we didn't see, but like, if basically every candidate survived, would there be like 18 monitors in that room? Hell, that doesn't even matter. Mishima has an AI in that room despite dying before that point. Was it cause he made it through the first trial? Did they make sure there'd only be enough monitors for those we see at the start, plus 1 Alice? I think there's something up, and this might be a hidden clue. I think it's possible the times of death for the characters in the victim videos and the arrival of the ones at the start of the death game may have all been fabricated. When the death game kicks off proper, Sara is the last to awake and everyone is already present, assumedly getting there at the same time. But since it awakens from her POV, it is possible everyone else arrived there at different times. They don't state who did or like who awoke first or anything like that. It's possible someone like Kai or Kyutaro didn't awake from any slumber and simply arrived and waited for the rest to come too, just different things like that. Also, since Kyutaro's first trial revolved around the box containing Miley's head, and the first part and Miley's intro required it in play, what would have happened if Kyutaro didn't show up? If he failed his trial and lost the box? Unless they planned for that, and Kyutaro was always meant to make it there and survive to that point. Kyutaro's never gonna die, people. For the victims, the people seen in the videos are stated to have died during the first trial, but it is possible they were never even present during the game's course to begin with. We never see them in person, and only believe they were among us because that's what's stated by the floor masters and the videos, tricking us with some of them having dolls, their names added to the bar blackboard and percentage papers to make it seem like they were present during the game, and the name first trial given to make us assume their deaths happened at the start, and at the same time as everyone else, when really, since they're recorded videos with no set date, they could have died at any time. It leads us to believe there were 20 participants initially, with some dying, but in actuality, there's only ever been 14, with Kugi and Megumi's deaths occurring during the first trial, and any other characters are all long dead. Rather than most of them being on their own, this would actually give about half the characters a partner for the first trial. Sara and Joe, Mishima and Nao, Kugi and Kana, Megumi and Keiji, and the characters who don't have a partner, which would be Kai, Kyutaro, and Geen, are all then kinda suspect. Reiko is the odd one out, but I do think it is possible she and Alice were tied with each other during the first trial, and she basically told him to fuck off, which he did, until he popped up again later. Which would work, because otherwise Alice may not have even done a first trial, unless he did it on his own. And being a candidate, I assume you would have to do one to be able to be in the game. Alice Yabusume is one of my favorite characters, but there are a lot of weird things about him. First, how he's introduced with the shadowy figure and him being in the locker just randomly, basically showing up to take Mishima's place. Like, why wasn't he present with the cast before? He might not have even gone through a first trial. A bit more minute is how he's the only candidate that has a relation to another candidate by family, not counting Kugi or Gashu, cause both of them are non-candidates. Alice then is a bit of an outlier. And again, he all of a sudden just shows up. It kind of feels like he was a last-minute addition. He has an AI and a supposed shared past with Reiko, but there are definitely pieces that just feel off overall. Going super tinfoily, his character design is kind of a combination of two deceased ones, Anzu and Naomichi, with everyone else's designs being notably super distinct from one another. I wonder if he may be some sort of weird amalgamation slash tool put in place by the organization for reasons we don't know yet. How they could do so? Perhaps they're able to alter the appearance of dolls. I mean, they gotta make them, first off. It's like Barbie dress-up. And since they have control over AI memory banks, as with fake Reiko and Realizer, perhaps they can mix and match them. Like, put some of Keiji's memories or personality into Reiko's body, for example, make an entirely new character, original the character, do not steal, and tailor them as they see fit. This is my original character. He's nothing like yours at all. Kai Sato most likely takes after his mother's side, which is why he has inherited his mother's horrible ugliness and not any of Gashu's beautiful looks. Here's Kai with a crab stash. Enjoy your night terrors. Alrighty, y'all. This theory is gonna be a big one. I think there's a very big possibility that Joe Tazuna, Sarah's best friend, may not have been who he seemed, and might even have been on the side of the kidnappers since the start of the game. Let's begin. Your first time through, Joe definitely comes across as your typical best friend archetype. However, after going through the game multiple times, in hindsight, a lot of stuff about him starts to seem a bit off. His dialogue at the start of the game seems like friendly banter, but if you read into it, it can instead be interpreted as him trying to convince Sarah he's her best friend, and that they share a past together. When talking to Reiko, he refers to her as the Reiko Yabusame, apparently having heard of her prior to the death game. He is the only one to imply prior knowledge of cast members with no previous family/cordial connection, which leads back into the questioning of origins brought up in Chapter 2-2. If we go with the idea that everyone's pasts have been fabricated, it's like he's stating these things to try and reinforce the identities they have been given. His intro is also foreboding until he appears to break that built-up tension. But you do gotta wonder if they might have been hinting at something sinister. When he doesn't seem to remember Sarah at the start of the death game, Sarah assumes he was playing coy/pretending to have amnesia, but she's the one who says that. Joe doesn't confirm or deny. Also, why is he suddenly in Sarah's house after the two said goodbye and he supposedly returned home? And of course, we can't forget about Joe's secret conversation that he had with Kai. It gets bigger when I
Not that one!
He has a secret conversation with Kai, which is captured from a security camera. We know Kai was a mole, so it's possible Joe was also on the side of the kidnappers as well. There was a boy who showed up in Kana's flashback too, who kinda looked like Joe. It's possible he was put in place to lead Sarah on, acting as an overseer to make sure the death game progresses the way they want. Especially since a good amount of Joe's dialogue is like worded in a way that manipulates Sarah to perform certain actions that moves the game along. Like telling her to go home, saying that they need to move from the first trial room. He's the one that suggests moving in groups, and the one who brings up the possibility of a collaborator with the culprit, which from my experience with games like Mafia, oftentimes people who bring up that idea are usually guilty and try to use that as like a cover-up for their identity. There are points too where Keiji seems to distrust Joe as well. I do wonder if his detective senses were kicking in when questioning his relation to Sarah. Joe's dialogue is kind of dubious when looking into it, and I do encourage you guys to also go back and reread what he says, and does with the idea of him being untrustworthy, cause it really makes you think. He's not Joe, he's Foe. Also, Joe is a non-candidate alongside Nao, Kai, and Kugi. Non-candidates' names aren't on the percentage papers, nor should they have AIs or dolls. Joe gets an AI courtesy of Shin, supposedly, but he also has a doll of him when he shouldn't since he's a non-candidate. There is another character that's a non-candidate that has a doll of them, but that character is Sue Miley. You know, collaborator of the organization and also full-time bitch. Everyone loves Joe, and so many were sad to see him perish, but I definitely think there may be more to him than just being a sacrifice or your typical best friend dies to further main character's growth type of character. He may not just be some average Joe. He could be an ally to the kidnappers or the mastermind, who turns out did not die and was actually pulling the strings this whole time. That's right, y'all. Joe is Junko Inoshima! For Joe to be a bad guy, it would be a crazy twist. And also more effective than Danganronpa's Mukuro Junko reveal. Everyone loves him, so for him to be the mastermind or just a villain and betray the trust both Sarah and everyone invested into him would destroy everyone emotionally more so than his initial death. With this in mind, maybe the Who is Joe ending might actually be the path for the good ending. Maybe a red versus blue Matrix type situation where knowing the truth of Joe lets you escape, but you're all alone. Or you think Joe is your friend, you believe a sweet sounding lie over the truth, and everything is a-okay, but you're trapped in the facility forever, etc., etc. Once again, battling logic versus emotion, and also truth versus lies. Another thing that's very telling of this theory's potential validity is that while everyone I tell this theory to says that they don't want it to be true, no one ever denies its possibility to be true. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Worst case scenario, he's Junko Inoshima. Best case scenario, he's still best boy. If Joe is actually an enemy, it's possible both Now and Kai, both of whom are also non-candidates, to be ones as well. Kai, we already know, was working with the enemy, and supposedly vindicated himself after his death, but what if he's playing the double triple agent and making it seem like he's changed sides when he's still working for the enemy? For now, when talking to Mishima in her flashback, it seems like she's talking about school when she says she needs to meet certain expectations or whatever, but doesn't specify, so it could mean something else. The bad ending you get with her too if you choose lesbians over everyone else in 2-2 also has some foreboding undertones. When Kai and Now attacked So for the laptop, it's framed as manipulation from Kai, but could have been deliberate if they were actually working together and using the story for Now to feign innocence, and make people trust her for the rest of the game. A lot of these suspicions stem from the fact that there are even non-candidates present in the game, cause it seems as if there'd be no reason for them to play if they have no chances of winning and get screwed over forcibly by those involved. Is it also weird that only non-candidates have actually gotten and kept the sacrifice card? There has to be a reason we have non-candidates in general, which if not cause the game and its heads are just horribly cruel, they could be here for ulterior complex motives. All this could apply to Kugi as well, but we haven't seen enough of her to really say, though I do wonder if the phone that was left with a dying message was forged, or if it might have actually been written by her, and she's still alive. I also kind of see some parallels between the 3 floor masters and the 3 non-candidates. Miley is introduced in Chapter 1, her and Joe are super happy and stuff, and Joe dies in Chapter 1. Sefalin is introduced in Chapter 2, her and Now are super sad girls, and Now dies in Chapter 2. Ryo and Kai are foils, both being Gashu's sons. Ranger is loud and rude, where Kai is quiet and respectful. Both of them die. Ranger murdered by Gashu and Sefalin, and Kai by suicide, and both of them receive development after their deaths. Ryo Ranger already got his Ryo redemption, but what if Miley and Sefalin go through the same? If it turns out Now and Joe are alive and evil, watch them do a thing where Tia and Miley, 2 characters basically everyone hates, sacrifice or redeem themselves by taking out the evil Now and Joe. The 2 hated versus the 2 loved, and they perform a role reversal. Everyone loves Kai, Now, and Joe, myself included, so I think it's plausible for them to potentially pull this big 180 by the end where the characters everyone loves become the assholes, and the ones everyone hates get redeemed and become martyrs and crap. Things are in black and white, and I don't know, they gotta do something super mindfucky and Danganronpa-like to make people engaged and make the ending and build-up worthwhile. Best case scenario, they're all precious, and Big Kevin's just looking into it way too much. These next couple of theories come from my friends. Shout-outs to Saluri. Is it possible Sara actually agreed to do the whole death game thing prior to its start, thinking about the end of Island Mode where she is acting like the mastermind, but she had her memory wiped and now she thinks she's a participant but doesn't remember the reason why any of this is happening, even though it was her? Which is why that one victim video guy hates her and why her father says she doesn't realize her potential yet, because she's supposed to realize on her own that she's at the root of all this. There goes a fable about a woman with a green ribbon around her neck, aptly titled The Green Ribbon. According to the story, when the ribbon is removed, the woman's head infamously rolls off. Will Miley and Sefalin meet a similar end if they shirk their duties as floor masters? Duty. If so, does this threat apply to all floor masters? While neither fabrics are green in coloration, the 2 do both certainly have ribbons around their necks. Even Gashu wears a collar, much like the participants. If Miley is furious with Gashu for his transgressions, could that be because she fears literally losing her head as a punishment? Ryo's head was kicked off, Gashu shot himself in the head, and Miley was clonked on the head with a frying pan, which exposed her as a human. There seems to be a common trend here. Thus far, Tia Sefalin is the only floor master who hasn't taken some sort of blunt head trauma, so foreshadowing? She wears it because it makes her look good. Could the game's design be a stylistic choice on the creator's behalf to suggest Your Turn to Die is all a game simulation? In spite of the available modern-day resources for a game like this, RPG Maker is an interesting choice. Everything is rather minimalistic, like an old-fashioned game. The aesthetic almost appears to be styled as a wink back when the whole RPG hype scene was most popular, and with the game being made in 2017, it's very odd and pretty deliberate to make it look that way. Once upon a time, in 1986, there was a horror-themed point-and-click adventure game by Mindscape called Uninvited. The environments in Uninvited are especially reminiscent of what is seen in Kimi ga Shine. The OST of Your Turn to Die also holds quite a few similarities to the music heard in Uninvited, particularly during scenes of puzzle panic and peril. Miley did say they've run through this scenario multiple times, so maybe this is all just a simulation with AIs, or just something game-related. It's worth noting that in both games, there are failed puzzle game over sequences, all resulting in death. For a horror survival game, it's a bit odd that we actually see the game over title. Comparing it to titles like Danganronpa, it's a bit strange. Minimalistic, 8-bit horror, first-person perspective, advancing via investigation and puzzle solving, and an overall retro gaming feel. It's all strangely familiar. If you're curious about Uninvited, you can check out the link down in the description below to get a taste of what it's like, so you can form your own opinion, and maybe even compare the music in the game over sequences as well. For who I think the mastermind / overall main villain is, my me tokens are on Sara, Joe, some other third thing, or the original Sohiyori. The versions we see of them, or maybe some other version as well. While the actions of Gin, Kai, Kyutaro, etc., all the other characters are shady, I see them more as underlings carrying out orders rather than the big boss running things. The thing is, it honestly probably wouldn't be satisfying at all if it was a new character or just some random average Joe as the main villain. Maybe Ryoko as an exception, but it would be much more engaging if it was revealed Sara was the mastermind, kind of like what we saw in Island Mode, and the one we play as is like a doll or something. Not so for So, he's either fully dead or a scapegoat villain, I think, but he is still dubious. And of course, Junko Inoshima. But hey, that's just a theory. Alrighty guys, those are some of the main theories I've got going into Chapter 3. It is a bit last minute again, I'm sorry about that. Chapter 3 did kind of come out of nowhere, I never saw it coming, and now Atlas wants to know my location, but with all that said, I do hope y'all had fun with it regardless. Do you guys agree with any of the theories I've expressed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and also feel free to share your own as well, I'd like to know some of them. Remember to leave a like, comment, and all that, join the Discord, follow me on social medias, or Kyutaro will eat your me tokens. Click the subscribe button! Chapter 3 is coming at us real soon, and we'll be playing that as soon as possible as well on stream, so hope y'all look forward to that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Again, also, shoutouts to Saluri for helping make some of the theories that are in the video, and also GT/Blake for, once again, just blessing us with such fantastic, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful art. Oh my gosh, my eyes are ejaculating, but that's beside the point. But yeah, with all that said, guys, name's KGOKev or Kev, signing out. Hope to catch you guys later on anything else we do. Peace out for now. So is Sans 2020.